Get ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. You either make excuses or you choose to level up. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. Woo! Woo! Brandon Britton here.
Appreciate you having me here today, man.
It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today.
Jeff and I are like friends. We're real friends.
We are And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it.
It all comes down to your why. Your business, why are you doing it? How is it going to change the world and what's it going to do for your family?
I want you to celebrate your success.
Talk about the struggle. But I promise you, the story is in your struggle.
They'll never be able to say that about me because people only see me working hard at anything that I'm doing whenever they see me.
Focused on your success and the success of those around you.
But being that constant in your community, good or bad, whether things are great in the community, bad in the community, who's steady?
Unapologetically do business and life on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. What amazing guests living the big ticket life. And we discuss how they do it and the big ticket methods they use. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.
In and of itself, the only limitations that we really have on ourselves is the ones that we allow to be put on ourselves. And most people don't look at it in that perspective.
There's nothing wrong with being humble, but there's also nothing wrong with stepping into your superpower and letting people know who you are.
Get ready to do life and business on your terms and truly live your big ticket life. Yeah. So listen, this episode for me is kind of cool. Dr. John Frank, welcome to the show. It's not every day that we have a two-time Super Bowl champion on the show. But I think the most interesting thing about where I feel our conversation might lead us to, and what I want to share with our listeners is, football has never been the most exciting thing, at least I gather from reading some of your bios online, and we have a mutual friend in Mike Capuzzi. Football has never really been the thing that really gets you fired up in a day. It seems to be medicine and the study of medicine and the practice of medicine and higher learning. Is that a fair statement?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's my honor. It's my pleasure. And I'm really excited, and I'm excited to get to know you better. And I've heard so many great things about you, and it's really a pleasure, an honor to be here. And football. I was a very intense player. I played 5 years all for the same team. I was drafted in the second round out of Ohio State, and that was a big deal. I mean, my dream was to go to medical school at the time. And during the draft, we didn't even have cable TV at the time. And so I went out and bought like a 25 or 50-foot extension to our telephone so that I ran it through the window of our apartment.
Wow.
Outside of Ohio State and to the neighbor's television. And everybody was going to class, and it was draft day. And I was just waiting for the phone to ring, and it rang. It was so funny how that works. At the time, the USFL was in just like it's back now. So there were all these other things going on, and I was going to go to medical school. So the phone rang, and they said, "Hey, it's the 49ers, and we're about to draft you." It was in the second round, bottom of the second round, and the pick was coming up, and it was on the clock. It was always on the clock.
Right.
And they said, "Are you still available?" I'm thinking, available? What? Really? They're asking me if I'm available to be drafted in the second round? I'm like, right. No, I went off to Africa and some mission, so.
Yeah, of course I'm available.
I didn't know what they meant. But I was drafted. So I was an intense player. I played 5 years. Luckiest guy on the planet. We won the Super Bowl my first year, and then my last year when I retired. And it was just, a slice a slice of life for me. Very, very lucky.
Yeah.
Very, very fortunate. Very, very
Yeah,
lucky.
you know, you're so you know it. You know, and I know your football career is but a season of your life, right? But
Yeah.
you're so humble about it because that second Super Bowl, I think you caught the winning drive touchdown pass from Joe Montana. Is that right? Do I have that right?
It was the drive Super Bowl 23, and I mean, I was in there. I would like to take credit for the actual touchdown pass. That was John Taylor. But
Okay.
I caught a crucial first down on that, in between
Yep.
Jerry Rice and Roger Craig, and of course the great Joe Montana, and then John Taylor caught the touchdown. But I mean, even to this day, I still look at those guys like I don't even feel like I'm in a league with them, because
Wow.
I don't. I was such as a kid. I was a wide-eyed kid, Jeff. I mean, I looked at all that. I mean, I was growing up in Pittsburgh, and I saw the Steelers back in the day and the Pirates, and they were all larger than life. And then when I worked really hard, I made it through to get to the NFL and the Super Bowl, and I still looked at those stuff. Was playing alongside them, and we're playing together, but I still like, wow, is this real? So,
Right.
you know,
Right. Yeah, it's so interesting, you know. So we are pre-recording this show actually on day 2 of the 2023 draft. So
Yeah.
it's really kind of interesting. You know, you're going to see this in a little later in May.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting, your experience, your draft experience, with the pomp and circumstance and the fanfare and the gallantry and all of the production of draft day. I watched a little bit last night and then went to bed, and but so different that you took the 20-foot phone extension out the window, and you know, are you available? Well, yeah, I'm available. Like, just so different. So really an interesting part of your life. And then so you win that, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, you win that last Super Bowl in your 5th year, and you decide to retire from football.
Yeah, I met my goal. I didn't know where I was going to go from there. I was in medical school at the time, part-time. I was like grinding my way through medical school, and in the off seasons, and taking a class here, an anatomy course there, and playing football, playing the NFL. And you know, the longer I played in the NFL, the further removed I became from medicine, from all the rigors and everything that it was going to take. I mean, it's a grind to go through medical school.
Yeah.
You know, that's some climb. And the longer I played, the more difficult I was falling further and further away from where I wanted to be in medicine, almost to the point where I thought, you know, if I was in my 3rd or 4th year in the NFL, and I thought maybe my 3rd year, if I keep playing in the NFL, I'm never going to be able to get back. It's you know,
Wow.
It takes such a commitment in med school, and I wasn't like, you know, I was a good student, but you know, I had other things going on, namely football and stuff, and so it was pulling me away. And I thought after my 4th year, during my 4th year, I finally made the starting team. I was a backup tight end. I mean, talk about humble. When I got to the NFL, or the opposite of humble, when I got there, I looked at the talent and the players, and I thought, I was wide-eyed, like I was saying, with the stars, but the guys that were playing my position, I was so competitive. I thought I should be able to play right away. Yet I was a second-string tight end, and they had a big commitment to the tight end in front of me, and I thought I was as good or better than him, but I didn't get a chance to start. So my dream was to make the starting lineup, and it didn't happen until my 4th year. And once I made the starting lineup, I was good. I played as a starting tight end in the NFL. I'm like, I'm good. I'm done. We finished that 4th season, and I told my mother, I remember I told several people, for some reason this sticks with me. I called her. I said, the season's over. It's fourth year. You'll be glad, because she always worried about me getting injured and
Yep.
nervous and didn't want me to play. I said, I'm done. I'm retiring. You're going to be so happy, Mom. I said, you're gonna finally, I'm out. And she had just the opposite reaction. She's like, what? You just made the starting team. You don't quit now.
Right. You got to play at least another year.
Yeah. And so I played the next year. I'm like, what? I'm thinking in the back of my mind, it's going to be all that harder to pass those med school tests and get through the rotations. So I played the next year, and like from heaven, we win the Super Bowl. So at that point, I retired.
Yeah.
That was it, Jeff. I retired. Then I made an announcement, and
yeah, I read like it was like pretty much right after the game, right?
Yeah, not too long after. I knew I was going to retire. I wanted to give them, I wanted to give them the chance to replace me, to draft someone, and not be. And they did. They thought it was going to be a big problem in my position, but I could see that the guys who were up and coming, like the player who was after me was. I thought at that point, like when I came in, I said I thought I was better than the players ahead of me. When I got into my fifth year, I lost a step. I'm not sure they knew it, but I knew it. And I knew Brent Jones was going to be great. And they didn't. I mean, they thought he had potential. And I'm like, no, you guys, he's going to be great. You guys
he's your guy.
You're going to be good. He's going to be great. And then they won. Then they crushed Denver in the Super Bowl. I was in my first year of medical. I was in my first full-time year of medical school. And remember watching that game, and the Niners are like destroying, and they're tearing it up in the Super Bowl. I'm like, oh, this is tough. This is really hard. I'm like, I'm just trying to get through rotations and not get kicked off kicked it for, I didn't know any. It was tough. It was hard. It was a very difficult position, but it turned around, and you stay in it long enough and you persist. And it got through. I made it. I got my degrees and my MDs and my residencies, and it took years to get like to a high level of medicine. And they were tough.
Yeah. It's intriguing. It's so intriguing to me because I think most people who would take in this episode or hear of a 2-time Super Bowl winning football player, like that level of success and in chasing goals in life, that's like, maybe football isn't everybody's dream, but that's like a pinnacle, right? It seems like those pinnacles are equal for people. And here you've accomplished 2 pinnacles to get through MD school, to practice medicine. So why for you, why is medicine so important for you?
Well, first of all, I think it's hard for most, I assume, and I believe it is. I don't know this as a fact, but I believe it's difficult to reach a pinnacle in sports like that at age 27 or 25 for that matter, unless you're Tom Brady and you're in your 40s. But, and then you still have 40 years to go or longer in life, or who knows however long, and it's like, what are you going to do to keep interested, keep yourself interested and excited. And so for me, it was another career that was really a first career, football, because I never knew you could get that injury, and the chances of making it to that level were so low. So I just did a calculation, like I'm going to go with a more sure thing. A medical career, which for a while wasn't a sure thing, but I just felt like it was something to do for life. And it was, a really important thing, helping others and being a doctor. And, I had good enough grades as an undergraduate, and I was right in the mix. Like, well, that's a noble career if you could stand it. The blood and the needles and the everything, the emotional load that comes along when you're dealing with individuals that are sick. If you can make that, then yeah, you're gonna. It's a good way to go. So that was really the my primary objective was to be a doctor the whole time. And
Yeah.
football I was very lucky,
Yeah.
everything lined up for me.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about the grind of being a doctor, getting through those rotations, putting your time
Yeah.
in, the realities of it. Yes, it's a prestigious career to have. Yes, you're doing good in the world. I have a friend who's an anesthesiologist,
Yeah.
and he said, in the realm of what he does,
Yeah.
they don't pay me for my time. They pay me for the memories that I bring home.
Well,
Because he
that's
sees
really, that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
he's and
Yeah.
and it's both good memories because he's got some, he's very skilled, right? And
Yeah.
he's been in all aspects of medicine, not an MD, but he's had he's had a long career, and
Yeah.
so there's good memories, but then there's bad memories, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, just the emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
Again, it's just really cool to me that you've stayed so focused on that goal of having a career in medicine and having a career in helping people with health problems and health issues and feeling, and ultimately the goal being to feel more confident. We'll talk about what you're doing presently,
Yeah.
but to stay so focused on that while having a distraction as a a collegiate football career, which is a low percentage thing for most anyway,
Yeah.
let alone at a D1 school, and then an even lower percentage of a professional football career. What, again, like I'll ask it a different way. So with those two things in the way for a span of, you were 5 years in the pros and
Yeah.
4 years in college, 9 years.
Yeah.
What was it in the back of your head that kept medicine, that kept that career? Like, this is what I want to chase.
I mean, once you make a commitment to something, there's no turning back. And I just wanted to do it since I was young. I was young, and when I made the decision, someone in my family had, we had people with everybody goes through it, family member illnesses, and the doctors were real role models at the time. Of course, this is growing up as a child in the late 60s, the 70s, doctors were, many doctors were very, they were role models. It's a little different today, and medicine has changed dramatically, and it's very difficult. So, but back in the day, the doctors that someone in the neighborhood, or the doctors that were treating people in my family, like, these were people to really respect and I'm not going to say worship, but they just left a giant impression on me. I'm like, that's cool. That's look at the respect they have. I don't see it as much today, and I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to, unless you want to, but I think medicine's different. And
well, I think anybody listening understands why medicine is different. And we don't need to go into it, because I don't think that would be a great show for either of us or a listener. But I think everybody gets it's insurance companies that dictate so much of what happens in a day and what happens between you as a doctor and your patient, right?
I mean, I just read an article. I forget where I read it, but he's talking about the objectives of modern medicine now, and really it's gotten a little bit away from the primary objective of healing and caring for people and taking care of people has been eclipsed by the financial, and you can't blame the people that are in for business or whatever it is, the government or big pharma and thing. I mean, they've got people, they've got bottom lines, and
Right.
it somehow has overshadowed really the basics for why I went into medicine in the first place, was to be a healer, to help people. And I do feel like I've spent a great part of my life developing skills, physical skills, emotional skills, people skills to really help. If someone is across from me in an exam room or a consultation room, and they have an issue or a problem, and it used to be much more life-threatening problems before I went into hair restoration, but still with hair restoration, there's an emotional issue. and
Yeah,
and the people
100%.
that I work on they've got life where they want it. They're usually older men above the age of 35, set careers, families. They know who they are. They're not 25 bopping around on a Eurail pass trying to figure things out. These are guys, they've got it. But the hair bothers them,
Right.
and I'm sensitive to that.
Right.
And I don't, I'm an excellent surgeon. If I could say so, they say if it's true, it's not bragging. I've spent a lot of time, and I have excellent surgical skills, but so much of it is judgment and who to work with, who to delay and do some other things. And so that judgment and that sensitivity. So just getting back to where the conversation of medicine, and it's just different today. So
Yeah.
that aspect of medicine, me getting a chance to help somebody solve a personal problem with how they feel about themselves and their appearance. I'm all over that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy that very, very much. And
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's what drives me.
yeah, really what you're doing is in your own way, you're honoring your career, you're honoring your commitment to medicine, what your belief is, what aligns with your values in the space of insurance and medicine and this modern world of healthcare. You're restoring balance in this one sector of how people feel, right? And you do hair loss, you have hair clinics, and your book. We'll talk about your book because your book is one of my core beliefs in marketing a business, and that's having a book to connect to your ideal client and how you use that to grow and help your clients, and in your case, patients. But really, what you're doing is you're resetting that equilibrium within your little chunk of the world of healthcare,
Yeah.
right? You're resetting that balance,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing. And yeah, that's the problem with medicine and healthcare at large. But in your world, there's more balance and it's more direct with you and the person in front of you. Yeah, I joke with my sons like, we ain't got no problem with hair up here, but we're never going to grow beards like you have for some reason. Like our whole family is that way. Like we look like this is about all I'll get right here. That's it. Nothing else happens here. And I told my boys, like, yeah, you're pretty solid when it comes to the top of your head, but if you want to be the bearded warrior, not going to happen. At least as it seems from a genealogy perspective.
Well, you got a good goatee going on there. I noticed that. That was one of the first things I noticed. I think you're good there.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just doesn't happen anywhere else. But hey, such as it is, my wife wouldn't like that anyway. So
well, there you go. That's that. Now we're getting to the bottom line.
Right.
Put all the other stuff, in a basket and throw it away.
Yep.
If mama's happy, then it's all good.
That's right. That's right. And so let's talk about the guys that you're helping. You said obviously, well, not obviously, but you said they're not the 25-year-old kind of running around getting a taste of life in every corner of the world. You're helping people. Like who should get your book, I guess, right? So 2-minute warning. Let's talk about that. You got 2-minute warning. Again, not to spin back into football. So I have authors on my show. Typically, the bulk of authors are people that run a good blog or they send good emails. So they're writing, that's authorship, but you've got a real book, which is important. I think there's nothing like sending a real book to your clients. So you've got that. It's called 2-minute warning. And the foreword is written by Joe Montana, which is pretty cool. Like that's neat. It's a neat little wrinkle to it. But who should get that book beyond somebody that wants to, hear from from you and Joe Montana? But like, who's the guy that should get your book?
I mean, it's really most interesting to guys 35 and older, I think. I mean, younger guys can read it, but the people that can get the most value are 35 and older. They're set in life. The thing that is consistent with people that really enjoy the book now. It's only been out several months, but I've got really nice feedback. These guys have had good hair at some point in their life. They were known for their hair, whether thick, full hair, and they've got everything else in life, like I was saying, and restoring or keeping their hair has eluded them. They're not looking for, they're not wondering that if this was some wild, exotic medical diagnosis, some disease of their hair or scalp, and they need hundreds of tests or dozens of tests and doctors and exams and things like that. This is, you've had great hair, you've made it in life. It's not the way it used to be. And then maybe you've been to some of the other clinics out there that are sort of hair factories, and their job is to get everybody under the knife that comes to see them. Well, I don't do that. Many people have life-changing experiences in my hands or another hair transplant doctor's hands. Like, changes everything. Game-changing experiences to have more hair with a transplant. But not everybody does. I probably delay or turn away probably about a quarter of the people that come to me for a number of reasons.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, there's physical factors, expectations. Maybe there's other things. The donor. There's several things which would look. I have to have like a time machine and try and figure out what people are going to look like, not just the day after the procedure, but the year, the 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. Because hair loss, on one hand, which is the reason why it's so great, is it's permanent hair. It's not a toupee or a wig, and for some people that could be great. We like to joke about it many times, but for my folks in New York that are on Broadway or on TV anchors and things, and they need a quick solution, and you'd be surprised. Those are fine, and I recommend those often. But hair transplant is a permanent solution, and so for that you've got to be very careful. You really have to know what you're doing, and I do know what I'm doing, and I'm proud of it. I've been doing it a long time, so that's really that's what people that really I as my clients, they've got it figured out, and they just want more hair, and they have realistic expectations, and so those are the people that I think enjoy the book. And there's other things in the book. Joe did the foreword, and Joe Montana. And I share some football stories in there. It's not a book about football. It's not a chronicle. It's not meant for ESPN, but there's some things which are pertinent when it comes to like we have a story in the book about one of my friends, one of the guys I played with as a linebacker, the toughest, meanest, nice guy off the field, but when you step across that line, I mean, I was an NFL tight end, and I still cringe thinking about what a badass he was. And the thing is, like, I use this example because when you go to see a doctor, most people are comfortable, but there's people that have what's called white coat syndrome. As soon as they walk into that clinic and they see the doctor with the white coat, their blood pressure elevates, and some people even faint, just at whatever. And so, but this linebacker, I'm not going to call him out. Can't. I mean, he couldn't.
Shucks.
What?
Shucks. I wanted the dirt, but that's okay.
I know. But you go in for the physical at the beginning of the year, and they put the blood pressure just to take his blood pressure. I mean, it squeezes the arm, but come on, it's not painful. It's not like,
Right.
My 10-year-old daughter can handle that. They put that around him, and the blood pressure cuff was going down 160, 140 millimeters, 120, and then boom, he hits the floor. He faints, passes out. Like, so, it's so I talk about a few things that are bridge between what I do, because I have to pay attention to very, very close attention. I'm still a doctor first and foremost. So stories, there's some things to that share. They sort of illustrate what it's like to be a doctor, yet having this background.
Yeah. So, obviously hair loss is your thing. Hair restoration is your thing. Well, hair loss isn't your thing. What you do with it is your thing with hair restoration.
Yeah.
You have your own hair replacement clinics, but to kind of turn this back to most all listeners, right? Because not everybody deals with hair loss.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on, as a person coming to improve their health, right?
Yeah.
Because fixing your hair may not on the surface seem like a health issue, but it
Yeah.
is, because if you're walking around and you're self-conscious about it, that's an emotional drain that takes a physical toll,
Yeah.
and it can manifest in a bunch of different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so, from your view as a doctor, like, if somebody's looking ahead at their problem and they're viewing it as this mountain to climb that they don't think they got the tools for, what's kind of your toolkit to get somebody like that prepared to maybe tackle some weight loss, tackle that problem, like that white coat syndrome problem? They just don't want to go
Yeah.
to the doctor's office.
Yeah.
What kind of toolkit do they need to have?
Well, I mean, I thank you so much for asking me. I do deal with that. People come to me with hair, but then inevitably, weight loss or relationships or cholesterol or exercise or whatever it is. I mean, the first thing I try and help people with is, and to get off any of the medicines. I mean, they're, doctors are prescribing medicines like it's candy these days, and people
Yeah.
come to rely on that. And even for sleeping aids, the Ambiens and the Valiums and the sleeping pills are, as a temporary for a crisis or an emergency. You can't sleep, you're jet lagged. And even me, when I travel, like if I travel out of the time zones, and I don't like doing that myself. It's like, it just that there's so much medicine. So I try and figure that out as far as like what people can do to help themselves health wise. Gosh, I mean, there's so many natural cures now. I mean, I'm a pedigree doctor, university. I'm still on the staff of Columbia University in New York, and so I don't want to piss too many people off in the ivory tower. But I just think that there's so much over prescription and the natural. I'll tell you, meditation and fresh air and sleep and setting goals for those type of things. I mean, I love technology, but you cannot allow technology to, and this is a message for young doctors, to eclipse just the basic one-on-one healing and being a caregiver and caring. And that all goes back to just being an individual and having good relationships at home and with your friends and colleagues, and having a bigger, we're not going to get all spiritual, but just having a bigger picture,
a bigger connection. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so many things you just said there that kind of fired off in my mind. So we'll kind of maybe go a little rapid fire as we look to wrap up our time together. So on the overprescription thing, I think I had my knee total replacement.
Yeah.
Some other stuff involved with the quad tendon and the quad muscle and a prior surgery. Bone graft.
Yeah.
I had so many pills and there was so much miscommunication.
Yeah.
I almost overdosed myself.
It happens all the time.
And when I say almost overdosed myself, it was my wife and I working together, and a week removed from surgery, I wasn't, or was it 2 weeks? No, a week. We don't point blame at anybody. It just was a thing that happened. But I wake up on a Monday morning and I kind of summed it up like I felt like I had a stroke. Like, we were concerned about blood clots and like, did something happen overnight? But it can happen that fast. And
it can happen that fast. You're lucky.
It was very eye-opening to me. And so I spent the day in the ER and, went in the morning, mid-morning. And by that night, I was feeling better, and because everything was getting through the system. Right. And so like that overprescription of things, like sometimes less is more, right? If you can
100%.
reduce those pills, less can be more.
Definitely. For sure.
So we don't want to offend the ivory tower people, but
no, I don't want to.
When you strip it down, less is more.
Everybody has a role, and I like meditation. Just some of the things, personal things which I'm into are meditation. I'll meditate at least once or twice every day. Take different techniques. Intermittent fasting is very much catchy now in today's modern world, but there's something to be said for that. I believe in it.
So on that note, I'll just quickly interject on the intermittent fasting. So I've got some friends that go for 5 days.
Yeah.
Now these are like, these guys are into running, weightlifting, high intent, like they're prepared for it.
Yeah.
We're not suggesting, and I guess I should have clarified at the top of the show, we're not dispensing any medical advice on this show, even though we have a doctor on the show. You should always go consult your physician personally, etc. Legal stuff. We should just say that. Get that to be part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the intermittent fasting thing, like they said, like my one friend Adam is really into it because he's had a lot of cancer in his family.
Yeah.
And I guess the studies are showing if you can go through 5 days, and I'm going to butcher the word. Is it aphagy? And maybe I'm just butchering the word so bad you don't even recognize it. But basically, the logic is you're removing all the toxins from your body that get in through food, that get in through any other ingestion other than water. And it's basically a 5-day water fast. And the body does such a purification of itself that it can reduce the predispositions to cancers later in life. And so that's why he does it.
Yeah.
I just find that so interesting.
I think it is interesting. I've done it myself for maybe 3 days. I like it. And then I'll to break a fast, I'll break the fast with something from the ground, a plant, a root, a leaf, and just get like your body's craving for nutrition and calories, and let it just like suck everything out of that. I mean, I'll have a, then I'll indulge later with carbohydrates, pastas and burgers, etc. But for that first, just that initial hour of intermediate, like something from the ground, some whole food. That's what I think there's something there for intermittent fasting. I love to know that it helps with cancer prevention. And that would, I think it probably will, but I think, we don't know everything about it yet, but we will. We got to kick the butt of cancer. I mean, that's
well, whether it does or it doesn't, in my friend Adam's mind, and as a doctor, the mind is a powerful tool as far as what you go into something, how you recover from something. And so the fact that he's eating healthy, doing these things, and in his mind he's believing it, that has to, on some level, play a part.
For sure. That's again the meditation and using your mind. They say your mind is the biggest pharmaceutical store, on the planet. And I've done some hypnosis and work, and I've learned some hypnosis, and using that in my clinic has been very helpful.
Wow. Interesting.
And you can self-hypnotize, but I routinely do that with my patients, and it's very helpful. It's very helpful. At some point we're, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, people with visions and things. I mean, we're hopefully getting back to that era where we're using the mind to do previously unlike imaginable things. And so, but it all starts within. It's like, what you're saying, it's all within. And so, I'm all about that, all about it.
It's interesting you touched on meditation and reduction of technology, because right after we do our show, I'm going into a recording with my really great, this is my opportunity to praise our great producer, Chris from Cast Ahead. You need anything podcasting, he's the guy. But we're going to do a solo episode, so we have something as a backup and for another purpose. But the crux of that is going to be about showcasing what I use for a daily routine. And so that I could have done and shared that out with the world through an app.
Yeah.
But it's going to be old school, paper and pen, journal style production.
Yeah.
In the hands of the user, because I just believe that you need to remove yourself from all this technology, give yourself that opportunity for meditation and reflection.
For sure.
And there's tons of great apps out there, but I think there can be a lot served through that time of meditation and reflection and ink, and pen to paper, right? So what do you see as some of your favorite benefits from those moments of meditation reflection that you have?
I mean, everything. I mean, now I've gotten to the point where I can't imagine. I mean, my big three things are to get out of like a funk, which everybody gets into from time to time, whether your computer breaks down and gives you error messages or stuff like that, whatever it is, or something happens at home or whatever. There's a problem, or you squeeze yourself, and so my big things are music, exercise, and then ultimately meditation. You can exercise to the point where you put yourself like in that runner's high or the zone, and etc. So there's definitely something to be said for that. And music, you can do the same, but just that personal reflection, like you're alluding to, and meditating, um, can take you to another level. And so it's experiential, and it's kind of hard to talk about and it sounds like you've had a fair amount of that. And so,
Yeah.
contrast that to the digital age. So you come into the office, you turn on your computer. So well, just stop. Don't look at all the emails. Don't surf the net. Don't go on social media. Just stop and think what you want to do. Like you said, put yourself down, pen to paper, and as I get to know you, Jeff, a little better, and hopefully more in the future, and living your ultimate life and the big ticket life, it's like you're in charge. The data, the excitement, the everything that's thrown at you, it's so alluring and it's tempting, but step back, put the pen to paper, meditate, figure out what you want, and leave it all behind, and you're in charge. You're in charge of stuff. And that's kind of I'd like to be better at that, because when I approach my day that way, I feel much better. I feel that's how I feel the best.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're doing that. I'd love to see a copy of that,
I will get you one for
Share that with
sure.
me. Yeah, share that with me after.
For sure. Yep. It's interesting that you would comment about getting better at that, and you feel for yourself there's room for improvement. So I think the way to leave our listeners and watchers, before we let everybody know how to get a hold of you, how to get a hold of the clinic, we'll review how to get 2-minute warning one last time. Don't go and beat yourself up, right? Like, you're at where you're at. There's always room for improvement. And even though you see high achievers like Dr. John here, he's still looking to improve, right? As long as a part of your journey is improvement, let's make it happen.
That's what it's all about.
And
That's all about.
1% for John Frank is 1% for him. 1% for me is 1% for me. 1% for you is 1% for you. If we're getting better that way each day, by the end of the year, habit stack all that stuff up, and you're gonna be in a much different place, much happier place. So, John, how do we get people 2-minute warning? Where do they go?
www.johnfrankmd.net. johnfrankmd.net. There it is.
Yep.
It's a free book. The content is really good. It's not fluff. It's a quick read. It's an hour or two, and that's it. But there's, like I said, some football stuff in there. But it really addresses men over the age of 35 who have hair loss. It will resonate. And I'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, if you felt connected to this episode, felt connected to what John's doing with his hair restoration clinics, johnfrankmd.net. You can get the book, get started down that path, and connect with him there. There's a chat box there if you want to kind of jump to the front of the line. But I think the best place to go would be get that book, and they'll ship it out to you pretty quickly. And you'll be on the way to feeling better about yourself, more confident. And John, I've really enjoyed our time together. This was a great little time we had. And thank you. Thank you for being with me today.
My pleasure, Jeff. That was, talk about a meditation time warp. That was the fastest 50 minutes or 45 or hour that
It goes by quick.
Wow, where did that go? So
Yep,
that means
goes
that
by
means
fast.
I had a great time. So thank you
That's
so
good.
much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for joining me, and everybody watching, listening. We'll see you next week on the Big Ticket Life. Everybody take care. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of the Big Ticket Life. You've heard from another amazing guest living their own big ticket life, and now it's time to live yours. First, I'd love for you to take me up on my free gift to you. Claim your gift at gift.thebigticketlife.live. That's gift.thebigticketlife.live. See, all your life you've been told what is and what isn't possible by the loudest voices from the cheapest seats. It's time to finally do life and business on your terms. Sure, you've heard similar things, but without clarity on what can be done, it's easy to have your customers, employees, maybe even partners, and your spouse keep you from truly living a big ticket life. My big ticket methods shift you into that investor seat in your business, away from commodity and away from competition, into a market of one, so you can finally live your own big ticket life. So my gift to you is for you to book your discovery call today, where we'll uncover first the Chivo behaviors, those chief everything officer behaviors that hold you back, and why moving into the investor seat in your own business is critical. 2, we'll uncover the premium position that's up for grabs right now in your market that you're missing out on. And 3, which big ticket methodologies are just waiting to be dropped into your business to explode your sales and profits. So again, thanks for listening to this episode. I'd love for you to take action right now. Accept this gift. Book your call. Go to gift.thebigticketlife.live. Again, that's gift.thebigticketlife.live.